I think one thing all of us would like to know is actually two things that you think we ought to be doing on LinkedIn. Because common thing is, I ask this question in a lot of forums, what do you do on LinkedIn other than accepting invitations? 90% say nothing. And then they say, well, I'm on LinkedIn, but nothing actually happened for me.
I think that's a great point. I think a lot of people, India or otherwise, actually use LinkedIn to grow that network. They're not entirely sure how to leverage it once it's grown. I think if you ask me, the two most important things you should do is actually try LinkedIn Answers. I think that's one thing which has worked remarkably well. If you go there, you'll actually find some very, very specific and maybe in your light, a pretty basic question. These are problems that professionals are facing every day in their lives. And the interesting thing there is, by putting it out there, because they know there's a level of reputation and trust over there, they do not feel that it makes them any less by asking a question. And then you're able to source these thought leaders. You're able to get the people who are doing that particular function or who are answering that question are people who have done it at a certain level. So I've seen a lot of people get a lot of utility out of this. A second thing is one of a fairly recent feature that we launched. It's about getting intelligence. We launched a feature called Following Companies. It's a little button which allows you to go to a company profile. There are over 1 million companies that have profiles in it on LinkedIn. Most of the Indian majors have their profiles over there. You can actually follow the company. Now what happens if you follow a company? You actually get the richness of the entire network. You get to know who are the people who are joining this company, who left the company, who are the most popular people at the company, what are the kind of jobs they're posting over there. Over time, as my team starts working with a lot of companies in India, more and more companies are actually choosing to become subscribed users of this, and then they're controlling the information that comes to you. Now, how does this change your user behavior? This information flows to your email address as a weekly or a daily digest. Most people will probably choose a weekly frequency. On a weekly basis, you get information on companies that may interest you. So a lot of people do this for their competitors, their suppliers, their partners. Actually, most of the large IT companies do it for themselves. They've got so large, they like to know what their own employees are doing. So it's actually quite insightful. The other thing is a very practical thing. If you're launching a new product or service, or you've got some very important jobs to fill, it's more than likely that there's someone in your company who can do it for you. Now, if they're following the company themselves, that's when they're going to find out. If you are a company that's probably larger than 100 people, you don't know about all the products and services, there is definitely no way you know about all the jobs that are getting posted out there. So a lot of companies are actually using LinkedIn to improve their own employee referral programs, to build out viral marketing around their products and services, do things like that. So I'd say participate in Answers, following companies. These are two things which are relatively low effort. And then if you think it's contributing value, well, I'll be the last person to say you have to be on LinkedIn. I think you participate in this and then see what the utility is. I'd say more often than not, the utility will probably draw you back in.
I'm Swati. I've been a LinkedIn user for the past 1.5 years, and it's only some 50 people that I know personally, and the rest I have among 200 people are all people I've met over LinkedIn. So it's helped me a lot professionally. What I want to know is how will it be advantageous to me as a professional if I go into the premium mode, and how will it leverage me personally?
So the way we look at our premium accounts is that, and this is actually true of any community, it's not just true of LinkedIn. For a vast majority of our users, we believe the free product is the best product. Okay, this is something that we're very open in stating this. For a certain subset of users, these tend to be market researchers, these tend to be sales and business development professionals, or even small recruiters. Anyone who's got an outbound function which involves you reaching out to someone you don't know. There are certain features that we unlock only after you paid us a premium for a premium account. These include things like we got a thing called a profile organizer. If you're sifting through a ton of profiles and you want to remember why you're searching a particular profile, you can sort of categorize things like that. We got a paid feature called InMail, which allows you to reach out to anyone in your third degree network directly. But these are features which are really useful only for someone in these functions. I mean, arguably it could be useful to anyone, but it really drives value in the business life of one of these professionals. So that's the way we view a premium account. Over time, we're going to change it, and we've already started doing that, to rather than being a one-size-fits-all, we're actually changing it to user behavior-driven. So, for example, we've launched our two most recent subscriptions are, one was Job Seeker. So if you are seeking a job, we will actually help you stand out from the crowd when a recruiter comes on LinkedIn and searches. We'll provide some special badges, we'll give you some extra information, things like that. That's a way in which you can get utility. Another one was for a small recruiter, I think we call Talent Finder, that we launched recently. We're going to launch something soon for sales and business development professionals. Idea being that it's going to be more driven by use case rather than one size fits all, which we appreciate was fine for the time, but over time we've been trying to improve the product.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Hi Hari, good to meet you. I am Avinash Nashcom. We probably connected
That's
on
right.
Twitter and LinkedIn and all that. See, we have again a community which is on a different platform. The oral RSS feeds, we put it out on the LinkedIn platform, but the other way is not possible. So we can't pull out all the LinkedIn feeds onto your community or somewhere else. That's probably one feature. And how do you really grow your network? Probably at some time we also notice that people come there, post their own event or post their own thing which they're selling out there. But really, how do you drive that network on the LinkedIn? And somewhere we also face this challenge of, there's a community exists here, there's a community exists here. How do you really, get all these discussions onto one, and, some insights on how you can leverage this for an event will be helpful.
Sure. And actually this is goes to one of the discussion points Jesse wanted me to talk about, which was this evolution of the internet from the World Wide Web to a bunch of walled gardens. Why it's actually happened this way is while the sort of our CEO likes to talk about there being three phases of the internet. You had the phase of the portals, if you like, the Yahoos and what have you. You then had the period of the search engine, which leveraged this information and made it available. And then you have this period right now of social media. And why a lot of people are retreating behind the walled garden is they don't want all that information available publicly. They also appreciate that while the search engine can serve certain needs, and they are extremely useful in certain use cases, there are certain other cases where when your focus is more on quality rather than quantity, in any case, whether it's online or offline, it tends to happen within closer interest groups, where you have a lot of like-minded typically in our case like-minded professionals getting together and discussing a topic rather than out in the open. It's also, there's this level of trust that comes in on a platform such as LinkedIn, and that is why, for example, we don't allow extracting information from a group and putting it on a public platform, because anyone who participated on it came in knowing that everything is protected behind this wall. Now, having said that, we are looking at certain features which will allow you to have some sort of a hybrid, where it's very, very apparent to you, the user, that this information is going to be public. But I think, for example, Jesse's own group thrived and was particularly useful because it was completely closed. You got this information, this richness, because everyone knew that whoever's in there is of a certain quality. It's not about arrogance or anything of that. It's about knowing that there was some minimum effort that somebody had to put to get there. One of the big complaints with the search engine phase of the web was that everything is too easy, and it sort of commoditizes content, it commoditizes intelligence. And so I think that's one of the challenges. Now, with regards to leveraging the platform, I think there are different ways you can sort of grow your community. I mean, for example, one of the ways we've chosen is to actually open up our APIs. There's a lot of information. You can put LinkedIn search bars on your own websites. You can put people's profile information on your own websites. Anything that's in the public domain you can pull out to your site. And that a lot of people are using that to sort of showcase the fact that they have a vibrant community on LinkedIn and invite people in there to consolidate. Now, you may choose to consolidate on your own platform, consolidate on LinkedIn. That's really irrelevant. The point is to figure out which is the one that's working well for you, and figure out ways in which to market on the other one to pull the information in that direction.
Hi, I'm Vinay. I come from Mysore. I do a walking talk company there called Royal Mysore Walks. I must thank LinkedIn a lot because it's helped me in a lot of ways to get business. When I have customers who come and walk and ask for recommendation, that's more trustworthy than the recommendations I put on my website. So that's a great use there. But let's say I'm looking at growing my network, I feel a vacuum there because recently I was trying to redo my website, I was looking at content writers. So I can come up with a really interesting profile, but I thought I could probably connect with them, but unless and until I have a common connection, I probably cannot get across. So this is the reason why you probably limit my network, because for a small business, the network is the key. You never know where the next customer is coming from. So any leads there with LinkedIn trying to help me grow my network?
No, absolutely. I think for a lot of small and medium enterprises, the way they're using communities such as LinkedIn is to do exactly that, to do business development, to do marketing, to actually talk about what their value proposition is. We have a number of features that you could use, everything from actually creating a corporate profile, so a company profile for yourself. You can create one for free. Use that. The information that's available there is different from an individual profile. We're going to significantly upgrade it actually in a couple of months. In addition to that, there are ways in which you can sort of either use advertising, participate in groups. So that's another way in which a lot of SMEs actually get information. Find like-minded groups where you think there's information, where you think you'd find potential customers. I think the one caution I'd give is be respectful of the fact that you don't, the LinkedIn community works, or any community works, as long as you don't have people coming in there and doing direct sales or pandering. As soon as that happens, I think the good thing with LinkedIn is that we have a lot of controls which allow other people to kick you out. So we have the community police itself. But if I was advising you, I'd say just be cognizant to think about that word relevance and context. What is the context of this group, and is your information relevant to them? You may think it's relevant, but how do you make it seem, empathize a little bit, put yourself in their shoes, and I think that would go a long way to helping you to grow your actual brand.
Srividya, I write for the Economic Times. I actually wonder your monetization, how does that work? You know, we know how other platforms like Facebook and Orkut work, but this seems to be sort of different.
Sure.
So I was quite curious about that.
I just answered briefly because I don't want this to be a LinkedIn sales pitch. But we have three sources of revenue. The first being advertising, so marketing. The second being a hiring solution. So we have enterprise-grade products on the side which are focused on the recruitment industry. It's not LinkedIn.com. It's a separate product, suite of products rather. And then we have user subscriptions, so premium accounts. And so those are roughly our three revenue sources.
I'm Varuna. See, in recent times, we have seen that in LinkedIn, there have been cases where senior management professionals, their LinkedIn profiles appear, which has obviously been, squatted by somebody else, and they've been very abusive profiles. So I just wanted to know what is the kind of processes that LinkedIn has in place to remove them.
So that's a great question. We've actually got 2 or 3 different ways in which you can actually flag it off. And I think we need to actually do a better job of surfacing this information. So one of the ways is, as anybody who's got a free account on LinkedIn, if you have, and you have your official ID tied to your LinkedIn account, when you log in, let's say I log in as a LinkedIn user, and someone claims to be working for LinkedIn, when I show up on their profile, there's a little button that looks like an exclamation mark. By clicking on that, I can flag that this person indeed does not work at LinkedIn. I can flag that off. As soon as that happens, that account is put into a pause mode. We don't turn it off because you could have it go the wrong way. But we essentially we then send a mail to the account owner saying someone has flagged your account and claimed that you don't work in that company. So that's a quick way for the network to police. A second way is, I've had a few senior executives actually reach out to our customer operations team, and we are actually investing a lot of money in growing that particular part of the company. And we immediately freeze any of these accounts and try and alert this. Now, it is the nature of, I have seen a few cases where people have gone to a pretty advanced degree in terms of building out a profile and claiming to be someone else. To date, there has still been very, very few in number. Having said that, we take it very, very seriously. So as soon as something like this happens, if someone has not done this flagging activity, we escalate it internally and turn it off.
Thanks so much. And I should mention that Hari is, I think, a dyed in the wool communities guy. He's worked in MySpace earlier to this as well. and we had StyleKist was your startup as well.
Yep.
Yeah. So long time community.